Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a deep dive into one of the all-time greats, Shakespeare's Macbeth. It's a classic story about ambition, power, and what happens when things go horribly wrong. But here's the thing. We're going to look at it from two totally different angles. Is it a story about fate, or is it really about freedom?
You know, that famous line really sets the stage for everything. It's all about how things aren't what they seem. So let's jump right in. We meet this guy Macbeth. He's a celebrated general, a total hero, brave, skilled, but his whole world is about to get flipped on its head because of one single, really weird prediction.
Okay, so first up, let's look at the classic interpretation of the story. The one you probably learned in school. A good man's tragic fall. A fall that feels like it was written in the stars. So, picture this. Macbeth, let's call him Captain Iron Will for this part of the story, is riding high. He's just won a huge battle. He's a national hero. And then, bam, he and his buddy Banquo stumble across these three weird sisters, these witches, who drop a bombshell of a prophecy on him. And this is where it gets really clever. Look at how this prophecy is structured. First, they tell him something he already knows. You're Thane of Glamis. Check. Then, they tell him he'll be Thane of Cawdor. And guess what? A messenger shows up almost right away and tells him exactly that. So now that third, huge, dangerous idea that he'll be king suddenly feels not just possible, but inevitable. It's the perfect hook. So Macbeth is wrestling with this idea, but it's his wife, Lady Macbeth, who really pushes him over the edge. She is intense. She basically tells him to man up, that his conscience is for wimps. Don't just wait for destiny to happen, she says. Go out and make it happen. And he does. That same night, he does the unthinkable. He murders the king, King Duncan, who's a guest in his own home. It's the ultimate act of betrayal. He uses that sharp key of murder. And with it, he doesn't just open the door to the throne room, he opens a door to a whole new world of darkness for himself. And once that door is open, there's no going back. You're about to see how that one murder creates this horrifying domino effect of paranoia, fear, and a whole lot more blood. I mean, just look at this downward spiral. He goes from war hero to king killer almost overnight. But the crown doesn't bring him peace. It brings him paranoia. He remembers the witches said his friend Banquo's kids would be kings, so what does he do? He hires assassins to kill his best friend. And when that doesn't stop the nightmares, he just completely loses it and has his rival Macduff's entire family, wife, kids, everyone, slaughtered. It's just monstrous. So he's spinning out and he goes running back to the witches, desperate for some kind of reassurance. And they give him these new prophecies, which sound amazing, right? Beware Macduff. Okay, fair enough. But then, no one born from a woman can hurt you. And you're safe until a forest walks to your castle. He hears that and thinks he's invincible. But what he doesn't realize is that these aren't promises. They're riddles, and they are perfectly designed traps. And this is how it all comes crashing down. It's not magic that beats him, it's cleverness. First, the attacking army cuts down branches from Birnam wood to use as camouflage. So from a distance, what does it look like? It looks like the forest is literally marching to his castle. Prophecy number one, busted. Then, in his final sword fight, he's feeling all cocky, yelling at Macduff that no man born of woman can harm him. And Macduff's response is one of the greatest lines ever. He says he wasn't born, he was untimely ripped from his mother's womb, a C-section, a loophole, and just like that, it's all over. So if we're looking at it this way, the message is pretty clear, right? When you do something as unnatural as murdering your king and your friend, you unleash all this chaos into the world. You break the rules of nature, and nature, well, nature breaks you right back. But what if that's not the whole story? I mean, is this really a classic tragedy about fate? Or could it be something else entirely? Something more like a failure of courage? All right, let's flip the script completely. Let's look at a totally different, much more modern take on this. In this view, Macbeth isn't some pawn of fate. He's a modern man, faced with an incredible, terrifying amount of freedom, and he just can't handle it. And this really gets to the heart of it. Was he a good man brought down by some cosmic plan? Or was he a man who chose his own path, but was ultimately too weak to deal with where it led? Was he a victim of fate, or did he build his own cage of guilt and fear? Think about it this way. What if the witches weren't telling him his future? What if they were just telling him the truth about the world? That there is no destiny. There are no rules. No divine right of kings. There's just you. You're free to do whatever you want. The world is yours for the taking, if you have the guts. And that, from this perspective, is Macbeth's real tragedy. It's not that he killed the king, it's that he couldn't handle what came next. He wanted the prize, he wanted the crown, but he couldn't shake the old morality. He tried to act like a master of his own destiny, but his conscience kept screaming at him like a slave. He was trapped by his own guilt. So what happens when you grab power like that, but you don't know what to do with it? You end up with a crown and a whole lot of nothing. This idea is often called the will to power. Macbeth definitely had it. He had the drive to take what he wanted, to overcome the king. But there are two sides to that coin. There's the will to take, and there's the will to create. Macbeth was great at the first part, but he had absolutely no idea how to do the second. All his power was just spent on destroying things to protect himself. And that is the absolute key here. See, it takes a certain kind of courage to kill a king, but it takes a whole other level of courage to destroy the idea that kingship is sacred, to create a whole new set of rules. Macbeth couldn't do that. So he got the throne, but all he did was create a power vacuum, a void. He was left with a crown that meant nothing in a kingdom he'd already destroyed. Which brings us to his famous final speech. When you look at it this way, it's not the sad story of a hero who was doomed from the start. No, it's the confession of a man who was given the ultimate freedom, who saw that life could mean anything he wanted it to mean, and he panicked. He couldn't handle it. Life became just noise and chaos, signifying nothing. So that's the question the play leaves us with, really. It's a warning. It's easy to tear things down, to break the old rules. But if you do that, do you have the strength, the vision, the creativity to build something better? Or would you just end up like Macbeth, a king of a wasteland you created yourself?